Woo! Yes, that's right. It is Tuesday. It is 9. So, of course, it's UK Cowboys time. How we doing, you crazy Cowboys?
I don't know if we're crazy, but this whole
Yeah.
week's been absolute crazy.
That's right.
Needless to say.
Typical NFL off season and typical the Cowboys, in it. Like to make noise if it's good or bad. It's all, as they're saying it, no press is bad press.
Well, from
Well-
saying that, Jamie, it seems to be more bad news than it is good news at this very moment.
Yeah, well, it's certainly all been going on, isn't it? I mean, that's why we usually on a Tuesday we do the Prospect Project show where we take a group of players that's in this year's draft, go in depth into them, go through the scouting report, stats, the whole shebang. With everything that's gone on over the last, I wouldn't even say 24 hours, I'd say the last few hours, that's been scrapped. We're doing the Lowdown show, which is something that we do usually when big news hits. So here we are. I think the first place we'll start, we'll go non-Cowboys news. Do you want to go there? Should we start there on the non-Cowboys?
Let's just safely break it. At least we can actually laugh at another team. So
You know what, though? Just before you go on there,
go on.
I don't know if you had it wrote down, so if you do, I apologise, Mike. Just a shout
your
out.
show.
It's International Women's Day, innit? So
shout out to all the women.
All the women out there, not just Cowboys in the Cowboys family, but across the world.
Hey, my 3 favourite people in the world are all women.
I think you should name it, seeing as your wife's pretty much an earshot as well.
Well, she's one of them. My wife, my daughter, my mum.
There you go.
I'll let you off there.
There you go. How about that?
Let's go, man. Let's go. Let's just dive into this. We've got a lot.
Yeah, because there is a lot to get through. There's a lot to get through. So we'll start off because we got Graham on the line. We'll start with the Packers news. So obviously Aaron Rodgers, and this is still an ongoing situation. We have replied as well. Whether we get anything back from Aaron Rodgers himself is another thing. But that it's come up that he signed a 4-year deal staying at Green Bay Packers. It's a $200 million deal, 153 guaranteed, so big bucks. Makes you wonder what they're going to do with Jordan Love, mind, because obviously,
it really the fact they traded up to get Love, it makes this so much worse. And I can see a lot of other teams might want to come up and maybe trade for Jordan Love. Who knows? Because it was the whole scenario with when we had Jimmy G under Tom Brady for so many years. Then San Francisco came aboard and offered a trade. So it could be, Jordan Love's have so many years under Aaron Rodgers. You might know a couple of things. Yada yada yada. Who knows? So
to be fair, though, that it's probably, if anything, it's probably reduced his reduced what they would probably get, because they know they're clearly, not that they weren't anyway, but they're clearly fully behind Aaron Rodgers now.
Yeah,
4-year deal for 4 year.
Yeah,
I'm not disputing that Aaron Rodgers isn't a good quarterback, but giving that amount of guaranteed money to a quarterback who's touching 40 years old, that would frighten me. If you were giving that to Aaron Rodgers 10 years ago, maybe, but Aaron Rodgers at this age, I don't know if I'd want to be tied down to a quarterback at that age.
No, I think it's
especially.
I think Jamie's hit the nail on the head. I think Jamie's hit the nail on the head with Jordan Love. I think the Packers will be lucky to get a 2nd round pick for Jordan Love. I think if you offered them a 2nd round pick, I think they'd bite their hand off, because not only have they shown their hand, they've now basically said we don't believe in Jordan Love, because if they believed in Jordan Love, they would not be throwing $50 million a year at Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. So the small sample size we've seen from Jordan Love, I mean, you guys I've probably seen more than you guys, to be fair, but it's not been good. It's not been good. He's not come in and filled Lambeau Field full of confidence. I mean, the pressure was always on. It was always going to be on Jordan Love to dethrone Aaron Rodgers. He has had limited reps with the ones. He's had limited time with the ones on the field, and with the small chance that he has, he's not taken. So
here's the thing, Graham. It's like Packers fans were expecting Jordan Love to be Aaron Rodgers 2.0 with the whole thing, with the whole Brett Favre thing years and years ago. They thought it was going to be that constant cycle. Get a quarterback in, have him run under a couple of years, then
sit on the bench, learn under Aaron Rodgers.
Exactly, and that's completely went out the window. So good luck to the Packers. That's all I'll say. Good luck to that. Good luck to your salary cap.
The problem with it is that he's already made $5 million, if not more. And the fact that he's sat for a year, come in, didn't do well in the off season, and then they've just gone and thrown. Well, I say they've just gone and done. They're about to give. I've heard it's 150 odd million guaranteed. If he sees the length of the contract, obviously, and I mean, there's no guarantees. He could give up after 2 years. But the Packers have effectively said to him, "You're our guy until you decide you're not our guy." So I wouldn't be surprised if Love's agent has been told to go and find him another team.
I think the only thing as well you got to look at is
here's sorry, Jamie, but and I think this might actually break into a good wee segue into the next bit of news. Now, this is just a theory. It just popped in my head just literally right now. What if Seattle was to come in and trade for Love?
I think they want to see what Drew Lock is like. I don't think they would have. I don't think they would have bothered asking for Drew Lock if they wanted draft picks. They could have had them. But they said, let's see what Drew Lock has to offer.
Apparently, look, according to NFL Network, they're high on Drew Lock coming into the draft the other year. So it doesn't surprise me. But I think just quickly to keep switching it back, if they've signed Rodgers for this much money, he's had, Papa G will clearly attest to it. Only that he's had problems getting receivers in and a running game. They've franchise tagged Devontae Adams today, haven't they? But
they have. They've already done that.
Surely this means they're going to look at wide receivers. If you're going to pay him, and it was all this thing on it, like with Dak as well, that we paid Dak all this money. You've got to build a strong passing game and a running game around him. Surely this means they're going to go pretty heavy in the draft.
I will just say this right now. Right, even though Aaron Rodgers has won a Super Bowl, what yada yada yada, but. Was it $20 million difference per year on like when you break it down on base of the contract? Like Rodgers is going to earn more, like significant. It's like pretty much match Patrick Mahomes' money. And what was it, Dak's earning?
It's more than Patrick Mahomes.
So it's more, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but between the difference between that and Dak, it's quite significant. It's quite a leap.
Oh yeah, right? yeah. Easily.
So, like, don't get me wrong. Like Dak does have things he needs to work on, etc. But we're not now in a situation where we cannot complain about the money being given out to quarterbacks now, because
it's a quarterback-driven league.
Yeah, and we could have got Dak done a lot. Yeah, we could have got Dak done a hell of a lot cheaper 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, I understand that, but when you now put it in this comparison now, aren't we glad that we're not paying $50 million per year rather than, was it 35?
Mm-hmm.
So
I tell you what, though, just not to jump on your things. But look at Steve's comment. Apparently, Aaron Rodgers has come out and said that that's not true.
Oh, wow. Okay, interesting.
I've
Steve, you've got my spider senses tingling here. I want to investigate this.
I've just gone on now, and he tweeted an hour ago saying, "Hey everyone, I just wanted to clear something up. Yes, I will be playing with the Packers next year. However, reports of me signing a contract are inaccurate, as are the supposed terms of this contract I have signed."
He hasn't signed it yet.
Yeah, basically. I've already commented, and I commented on the Twitter with the UK Cowboys, and it was met with some controversy. Controversy. That basically he gets this big contract, and it's the news. Needless to say, he's not aware of what's coming down the pipeline. Wilson's news hits the headlines and becomes the big talking point because there's this massive trade. So what's Rodgers got to do? Got to make it all about him because it's Karen Rodgers. So any swoops. Oh, by the way, this news is inaccurate. I haven't signed anything yet. In other words, he hasn't physically gone to the office and put his signature on that bit of paper.
You know what he's doing?
He's making it all about himself.
He's basically trying to outmarket it. Basically, here's the thing: like everyone kind of stopped talking about the Dallas Cowboys, but what players are trying to do is basically try and get themselves more notified more than our organization in general, because we're, seems to be.
Cheers for the heads up on that, though, Steve.
Yeah, much appreciated, my friend. Hope you're well.
By the way, Steve, aka Group Expert, he has been assigned.
Yeah, saw that post the other day. I forgot to comment on it.
Yeah. Got to get things moving.
Being lazy, I've been lazy. Wetting the side down.
But obviously, the other news then is actually there's two other non-Cowboys news is. The one is the Russell Wilson deal, huge, massive, 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders, a 5th rounder. They're also sending Shelby Harris, decent pass rusher, and Noah Fant. Okay.
I'm sorry, but I can understand the whole Drew Lock being but Noah Fant. I'm very surprised about that.
Especially when you think the way that the Seahawks play, like their most success came when they had like Jimmy Graham.
Yeah.
I was high on Noah Fant when he came out in his year in the draft. I wanted the Cowboys to try and get him somehow, but that's doesn't surprise me that they gave up Drew Lock because clearly it shows you
quarterback.
This is clearly one of the biggest trades in NFL history now. This beats over the RG3 trade.
Doesn't beat the Emmitt Smith. Sorry, not the the pre-Emmitt Smith trade.
Yeah, for what is being handed over to just for one player, the significance it's a lot. I mean, we thought last year the whole Stafford and Goff deal trade was a bit Jesus. It's like somebody just got absolutely flitched. You know what I mean? Nah, what's the you know what I mean?
Do you think this is the craziest deal since the Ricky Williams deal? All those years ago.
I see where you're going. Yeah,
what was you going to say, Graham?
See, for me, this is a ridiculous trade because
it is heavy.
For the Broncos to give up that amount of draft capital and that amount of offensive talent, they're effectively saying we're ready to win the Super Bowl. No, you're not. I'm sorry, you're not. And even bringing in Russell Wilson, you're not.
And no. Let's not forget as well. Last season they traded away Von Miller, so there's that as well. Like their defense are not in the better position as they once were. They may have to, and they've just gave away their future for the next 3 or 4 years, in terms of draft picks.
This is definitely the Seahawks in a rebuild.
So what the hell are they going to like? Yeah, you brought in Russell Wilson, but what are you going to do with the other parts of the rest of your squad? Like, but
he's 33. He's 33, and he's had 10 years of sacks on his body. He is not the future of Denver. I mean, this is basically like the Broncos trying to bring in Peyton Manning.
Bet it all on red.
Again. But the problem is that Peyton Manning had a team that was ready to go and win. But by giving up people like Noah Fant, they don't have Von Miller anymore. Fair enough, they could bring him back in free agency to outbid everybody.
Yeah,
they are not ready to win.
So, don't get me wrong. Denver does have some decent receivers. They've got Cortland Sutton and they've got Jerry Jeudy. Like they're good. They're decent. Whether it's down to the quarterback, not before of Locke, like whatever the scheme was or whatever, and that weren't doing great or whatever. We don't know. But I don't see just bringing in Russell Wilson is magically doing a transformation. That, I mean, are they kind of counting that with the exact same scenario what we did with Peyton Manning? They traded for him back from Indianapolis. I don't know, but I'm not too sure how that's going to play out for him. But one thing I will say though is I don't know if you guys noticed this on Twitter or not, but apparently Russell Wilson actually declined to go to Washington and opted to go to Denver.
Yeah, he's said before that if he was to go anywhere, it would be Denver.
Yeah.
And Andrew on Twitter makes a good point there. That division now is stacked in terms of quarterbacks when you think it's... so you've got Denver,
looking at it as
Oakland,
well.
Chargers, and Kansas. Think of those four quarterbacks right there.
That's going to be the most exciting division in the AFC for sure.
In terms of quarterback play.
Oh, absolutely. Like absolutely.
Just looking through the list as well. So, and I know we all say it's a lot to give up. And to be fair, yeah, they need a couple of players there and everywhere.
Exactly, Joe.
They're definitely in a better position to win now than a couple of teams. But in terms of what they gave up, in terms of who could they have really gone after, the Bills aren't going to give up Josh Allen either. You're not going to go for Baker Mayfield. No disrespect to him. You're going to stay clear of Deshaun Watson just because of all the off-field stuff. To be fair,
I don't think that's going to be a mystery.
You could have maybe got Derek Carr, but is Derek Carr that QB that's going to get you a Super Bowl?
For Vegas,
another aspect for me is this already puts pressure on Nathaniel Hackett because he has effectively just tied himself to Russell Wilson because he's not going to be able to bring in anybody else. So he, instead of taking his own guy in the draft, he's basically mortgaged the future to go and get his guy right now. I mean, to me, it screams that if Hackett doesn't do well, he's not going to be around to make those draft picks anyway. So he might as well get as much talent as he can in through the door. But it's huge pressure on him and Wilson.
On a devil's advocate note, do you know why I love this time of year?
The craziness.
Yeah, that, but also because of the two quarterback moves today. It's just destroyed every single mock draft that's happened so far.
Oh, yeah. Mel Kiper is screaming right now. Mel Kiper is in his little basement crying into his pillow.
Who the hell's Mel Kiper anyway? No, but even that for other teams, that changes their logic, what they're going to do in the first rounds and stuff like that. Like, it changes a lot of things. And in so many ways, it affects us as well. Because from us now with the whole Amari Cooper, so I know we're on now jumping into Dallas Cowboys stuff, from the Amari Cooper situation, Dalton Schultz.
We'll hit that now.
Like, is our first number one overall pick actually not going to be offensive line, not going to be linebacker? Is it going to be wide receiver? That's the thing I'm confused about. But here's the thing, though. It's like, you've got all these other teams now. They may have different needs. They might want to go wide receiver this time. So it completely changes the whole percent. Like the whole things are going right now, and we're in what, middle of the start of March. It's going nuts.
If Seattle wants to give us one of them first rounders,
oh man.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's hit then the Dalton Schultz news, because first of all, this came after the Cleveland Browns franchise tagged their tight end.
Yeah,
Miami Dolphins then franchise tagged Mike Gesicki, their tight end, and then the Cowboys followed suit. So he has officially been franchise tagged as of today. His cap hit on the year is $10.9 million. Which is what franchise tag is. The other two tight ends that we just spoke about getting the same amount as well. This obviously, we'll get into the Cooper news because I have a question for you guys. But general feelings on this move that you have straight away.
Awful. I'm sorry.
I can't think of many times a backup has been franchise tagged.
I would, and not that you're going to get a decent one. I would have rather spent that 10 million on an offensive lineman or even a running back to complement what we've got already.
Here's the thing for me, man, is like I genuinely think there's actually good enough talent somewhere in this draft this year and potential for agency where you can actually get a cheaper option and cheaper hit to the cap than franchise tagged. And like Graham said, a backup tight end, essentially. Because that's essentially what Schultz is. Like Jarwin, like based on the structure of how the Cowboys organization is, Jarwin is supposed to be the number one tight end, but make no mistake, Schultz has done fantastic to step into that role as the number one tight end. But but in theory, he is technically still the backup if you want to be more political about it. But I'm dumbfounded about it. I think there's better options out there. I really don't understand where Stephen and Jerry are going with this, and it's I really don't know.
Looking at the rumblings around social media, if you agree to it or not, apparently this helps Cowboys in terms of being able to bring back Michael Gallup, done it? Say with the rumblings of what's going on in that position, it makes it a lot easier to be able to bring him back than having to maybe mess around with Amari Cooper's contracts and take the massive hit that Amari Cooper would have on the cap this year. So in that aspect, I can understand it in some ways, but he's not worth 10 million. He's not. Yeah. He's just not worth 10 million.
Well, sorry, mate. Just to kind of add up for DJ Dog's comment here, is like I do agree. Like Schultz has elevated himself to be the starter, but I was just saying politically within the Cowboys organization, he's more like he's still being looked at as a backup to some.
But I mean, you could do the same argument about Dak Prescott that he was a third string quarterback.
Oh, absolutely. No, third string. I was about to say, no, was he not a fourth rounder?
He was your third string quarterback, and now he's not just your starter. He is, and we put a post up today. He's the third best tight end in the NFC since the move with Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
but here's a question for you though. Do you think that this franchise tag that Dalton Schultz has got today, do you think that doesn't happen if Blake Jarwin comes out and doesn't have the hip injury that we have found out to be so detrimental?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's hard, isn't it?
Like, sorry, Jamie, on you go.
No, I was just going to say, I can understand the question, but it's hard, isn't it? It's what ifs, because would he have got as much playing time even if the injury wouldn't have happened? Let's say what he showed, not that he lit up the league, but he played to a fairly okay level. Would he have then cemented himself last season as tight end one just for the fact of the plays that he made?
I mean, I'm going to be brutally honest. Like, there's still things that both tight ends could really improve on, and that's the blocking. I'm just saying that. But an overall view of this is like, if Jarwin was to come back and play, like, he is technically the higher earner within the tight ends. Like, I don't know what effect that would have on the cap if we were to cut him or whatever, but I'm honestly just dumbfounded about it. I genuinely think I don't know about you, Graham, but surely there had to be much more affordable options that it was not going to kill us when we're trying to get players like Gregory back, players like Case back, all these different things that is going to try and bring something back to have a squad that's able to compete at a decent level.
Me, I think it's three things. I think it's you can bring Blake Jarwin in for 10 million, which means you can play Jarwin and lose Cooper I think this rubber stamps that Amari Cooper will play for somebody else next year, basically because of one of the things being his salary, but we'll get into that. I think, 2, they're frightened about the Jarwin injury because he doesn't seem to. Well, certainly the kind of view is that he won't play in September. And 3, I think it gives them more time to negotiate with Schultz. But if you're going to move on from Blake Jarwin and you don't get Dalton Schultz signed, all of a sudden you're back to square one at tight end.
It scares the living heck out of me for the fact that what the rumblings of the moves are is that we're going to lose our wide receiver 1. But then who are you going to bring in to then essentially pick up the slack? What you're going to lose from there? You would, and not to kind of bang on it because I know we did last year, but this is where you kind of now need a Kyle Pitts kind of tight end as such. I mean, in terms of what he can do. I mean, what I mean is like Jarwin can't pick up the slack of Amari Cooper, whereas a Kyle Pitts type of, I don't mean Kyle Pitts essentially, but Kyle Pitts kind of tight end, because you're essentially weakening the wide receiver position now because you've lost one of 3 great wide receivers on the team, and you're not going to improve it, because if you go out and draft someone like a Sky Moore, which we're all really high on, he's not going to see the field a lot this year because he's a rookie. Now, where do you give these extra passes to?
I'm gonna slightly disagree with the references, Jamie.
I knew you would.
Yeah, like when it comes to tight end, if I was looking for a tight end, I would kind of look more for a Hawkinson type of tight end, one that can actually block.
Pure wide.
Oh yeah.
Pure wide.
Yeah, a pure white tight end that can block, but can also spread out the field and make some catches and plays. Whereas Pitts, he is definitely more of a it's pretty much. Yeah, he's pretty much he is a wide receiver just playing in tight end essentially.
Yeah, to be fair, then you probably described it probably better than I should. In terms of it's that one. Do you know what I mean? That there's a little bit of both, and
sadly, I totally agree with.
I don't.
You can rely on him to catch passes where you can't really rely on Jarwin to pick up that extra slack. I don't think. I could be wrong. I'm not proved wrong, but
I also don't think Jarwin's going to. Honestly, Jamie, I don't think Jarwin's going to get any game time at all this year. Even if he comes back from I think.
No, not Jarwin. Sorry, Schultz.
If memory serves me right, Jarwin's contract ends end of next season, so this is his final year. I'm pretty sure.
Sorry, no, I mean Schultz. Sorry, sorry.
Schultz. Oh, sorry. Right, okay.
It's not gonna. He's not going to pick up the slack, is he? He's not proved himself year on year that we can trust him to pick up extra.
I've just done my sums using the numbers on overthecap.com. Let's presume we bring Gallup back for the prescribed $12 million, right? So you've got, as it stands, you've got Cooper, Lamb, Gallup, Jarwin, and Schultz. That's $50 million on five receivers. See, to me, that's a telltale sign that they're going to move on from Amari Cooper.
Just to put that in perspective, that's 1/4 of the salary cap.
Yeah, on 5 players. And five players doing pretty much the same job.
Yeah,
and not to touch on too much because I know Mike's going to be in it, but just talking of the salary,
I'm doing about a million things at once. Yeah, I'm in full conversations.
Just
it's like we said, it's all kicking off tonight.
Just with the figures that Graham gave there for what Gallup might come back for, would you be more comfortable bringing Gallup back off the injuries come on for $12 million a year, or would you be more comfortable keeping Amari Cooper at $16 million on the cap?
You asking me?
Any of you?
Go on, I'll let the others answer.
Anybody at home?
According to Over the Cap, Jay, it's 20 million.
Is it 20 million? All right, so then would you?
It's 20 million.
So would you rather have 20 million knowing you've got an out-and-out wide receiver one?
It's frightening to pay a guy with an ACL $12 million. I'll be honest. When you consider you could go and compete for somebody that doesn't have that injury and give him the $12 million.
And bearing in mind he's going to be wide receiver 2, because that then this move essentially means that CeeDee Lamb's going to be your wide receiver 1 as well.
I know you guys. I know we keep talking about the offense right now, but I'm very concerned what in the hell we're going to do with Randy Gregory if that's the case. I'm seriously,
this
man.
This is where the moves are coming in. This is why they're making these moves.
He's gone.
I think. I
don't think so.
I think he's back.
Yeah,
they
are.
Even more so around the Cowboys. Even with how the Cowboys stuck with him over the last few years through his issues, I think he'll. Yeah. I think he'll give us the loyalty.
Yeah, that's my only thing that is keeping me saying yes, he'll return. But other than that, Jamie, how the hell would we going to afford them? That's the only thing. Like, yeah, it doesn't matter how much of a discount you can give. Brady wants to give give up. He still needs to get paid. He had a good season. He's proved that he can play at the top level. He can prove that he can be disruptive in any scheme within the 4-man front. So, for that being said, I'm on the fence about it. I would love to see Gregory back, but I just really do not see how we're going to do that now with everything that's going on with the we're going to sign Michael Gallup to a contract for a guy that's actually done his ACL in. We've just brought Schultz back and the franchise tag, and that's a hit on the tag on itself. Yeah, we've restructured Dak, we've restructured Zach Martin, but what are we going to do about DeMarcus Lawrence? What are we going to do about Amari Cooper? Are we going to have to sacrifice someone? That's going to be the case.
Do you know what?
That's my problem.
Do you know what you kind of stole me for another bit there? I was going to say, and this is no disrespect to Amari Cooper or Schultz or even Michael Gallup, but wouldn't it just be the Cowboys that we lose Amari Cooper in this offseason, and then we re-sign an injured Michael Gallup, although he's good, a tight end that doesn't deserve the franchise money that he's going to get on the franchise tag if he ends up playing on the franchise tag, and we also lose Randy Gregory and we lose DeMarcus Lawrence. It'd just be the Cowboys with it.
This is either completely stupid or completely genius by the Jones family right now, because for all we know, see, if by some miraculous miracle and we actually do end up in the Super Bowl, we're all going to ourselves are going to look like idiots. If that's the case, but from our initial reaction, it's not very uplifting for the franchise and for the fan base. As a fan, I'm very annoyed what is going on right now. I'm very annoyed.
Come on, mate, go in. Come on,
mate. I'm literally. I'm talking to the guys from Cowboys Media, trying to get.
Okay.
So there's a million things going on, and yes, I'm in conversations with all. As we're talking.
I will clarify when I say that I don't think Randy Gregory will be back. I am looking at as our cap stands right now. I mean, obviously, if they move on from Cooper and Lawrence, that opens up all sorts of salary cap room to keep Randy Gregory. See if that does happen. I fully expect Randy Gregory to be a Cowboy. They are not going to let Gregory and Lawrence leave in the same offseason. It's going to be at least one. They're going to keep at least one. They couldn't do it. They couldn't get rid of both their ends.
I know we're hopping about, but that's because there's so much going on.
Wild.
We've
wild.
It's called the Lowdown Show. We just don't know what to expect. So
because it's all I got info coming in, which we'll break into. But sticking with the Dalton Schultz thing, the only thing I will say is, do you feel Dalton Schultz is a tight end one, or is he a product of having Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Zeke, Dak, Michael Gala, Cedric Wilson? Is he a product? Because bear in mind, if you go back and you watch the San Francisco 49ers game, the way that they defended the Cowboys team, they dared Dak to throw Dalton Schultz the ball. That's how they did it. They left him the soft point.
I will say this. If you were to put Dalton Schultz in another team, he won't be as effective. I will say that. Unless
he has the pieces around him.
Exactly. Like
so
if he
was,
say for example, if he was to go to Tampa Bay before Brady retired, and he's got receivers like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and etc., then yes, he'd be quite good there. But if you were to put him in a scenario where he goes to, I don't know, Cleveland, or somewhere, I have no idea. No, I really don't.
So what we're saying is, most people do, he's a product of the offense as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah.
And what is crazy is we'll move to the Amari Cooper and DeMarcus Lawrence who's next, because it segues into each other. Is the question I'll ask all of you is, and the people at home, can't forget them, they're most important, they're our MVPs after all, that which is better then? Having Amari Cooper on the team, but you lose Gallup and Schultz, or is it better to have Schultz on the team with Michael Gallup, but you lose Cooper?
I'd rather have Cooper and Gallup.
I would rather have Cooper, but if he's not getting targets sent to him, what's the point having him? That's the only thing I'm very with. Like Schultz is probably getting more targets per average than Cooper was in the majority of the game. But
do you want to know how many targets? I know this off the top of my head. How many targets?
3 or 4.
This is whilst Cooper has been at the Cowboys historically from 2017 till now. Per game, Cooper is averaging 7 targets, not receptions, 7 targets per game.
That's not good enough. For a wide receiver one on that amount of money, it's not good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially when you've got players like Devontae Adams for Green Bay is pretty much like nearly 40. Targeted. Like, yeah. It's double digits. Double digits.
That's not on Coop.
It's on the scheme. I saw McCarthy and it's on
Kellen
Moore.
It's scheme. That's purely down to scheme. You could probably say as well there's a little bit of checking out with Dak where he's looked at it. He's not confident with perhaps maybe the way Cooper's been bracketed because he's getting an overhang over there with the double coverage. You don't know. But there is an issue where he isn't getting targeted. So the question you've got to ask yourself is, if it's not the scheme, is it worth keeping a guy for $20 million per year? Because if that's the case, then we'll go back to what we were doing pre-Amari Cooper when we had Alan Hearns and the guy from LA, the Rams.
Yeah.
But
I get what you're saying in that, but then, and I'm sure it was Dave Hellman that touched on it on the podcast a bit ago, but if you're paying him $20 million a year, throw it to him in double coverage. That's what you're paying him. You're paying him to go up and get it. Look at people like
best example, Jamie.
Jefferson was immense at it.
Jamie, I'll give you an example right now. Romo and Dez, double coverage.
Yeah, exactly. And then you look at Jamar Chase. The Bengals did it. I know he's not on that kind of money, but he's your wide receiver. Throw it up and let him go. That's what you're paying him to do.
Exactly. Yeah. He is designed to beat the double coverage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So why are we not utilizing that? That's again, it goes down to the failure of how, even though we had statistically, when you do yards and whatever on that, we were probably deemed as the top offense in the NFL, but it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like that we've utilized our weapons to its full potential. And this is what gets me the most. So,
do you know what? Just what you said about Des and his tuned in.
I just noticed that. Yes, straight on the bat. There he is. There he is.
But it's not
like
a case. It's not a case with Amari Cooper that he's not getting open, because he's getting open, but he's just not getting targeted.
Yeah,
and
but that's it.
You can put some of the blame on Dak for sure.
Oh, aye.
But when it's consistently, when it's over and over and over again, it's not a Dak issue. That is a team wanting to spread the ball around. So then what we're talking about is if they're wanting to spread the ball around, like, this big, we talked about the three big wide receiver core the Cowboys have had, throw in Tony Pollard as well. So there's a lot, and Graham has said it before on the show, there's only one ball to go around. So then if you've got to try and feed all these receivers, and Dak's throwing it 25 times a game, and he's got 5 guys he's thrown it to, you work out the maths. It's not hard to figure out. There's only 5 targets per player. And if you've got a wide receiver like Amari Cooper on that money, you're not trying to feed him 5 times in a game. You're supposed to be feeding him double that. You're looking at a guy like Amari Cooper to finish the season on 140, 150 targets, maybe not reception, but targets at least, somewhere in that range.
I don't know the stats off the top of my head, and it would take a bit of research to go and find them, but I would like to see how many teams there are around the league that have 2 receivers combining for 2,000 yards, because that's what the Cowboys have right now. It doesn't really matter how you split it up between Lamb and Cooper. The pair of them have 2,000 yards.
There may be teams where there's a wide receiver. I'm thinking wide receiver and tight end where they fit it, and the teams I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So there's going to be teams like that, that have those sort of
but again,
reception yards,
even
2 wide receivers.
Even down to that, you give Dalton Schultz 800 yards on top of that, so that's almost 3,000 yards.
Yeah.
My problem with it is that I think they're trying to deal the wrong receiver. I think we should just say goodbye to Michael Gallup, to be perfectly honest, and use his potential money, restructure Dak and Martin like they're going to do, and then keep Randy Gregory.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Why can they not go down that route as opposed to trying to bring in a cheaper receiver who, let's face it, struggles as a number one. He did struggle when Amari Cooper wasn't around. Love Michael Gallup, but I think it's time to go and test the water somewhere else.
Brian,
I'm going to stop because I've seen Brian's comment as well. Let's bring that in straight away.
Brian bringing up some controversial here.
Brian.
You could tell Brian's been on the cocktails in Spain.
Behave yourself.
Just quickly before I get into that, just because I've been keeping my eye on the news, that Tom Pelissero.
Yes, Chris makes a great point here. It should have been the other way. It should have been the other way about. It should have been.
Yeah,
and that's a double-edged sword there.
I know it's not Cowboys news, but just because we mentioned his name earlier, Tom Pelissero has just tweeted saying that the district attorney investigating Deshaun Watson plans to present her case to the grand jury on Friday, the same day that Watson was due a civil deposition, and he was told at the deposition to plead the fifth. So it's all coming to head now on that front. So I can't see a trade coming up very soon for him either. I know it's not Cowboys, but we talked about him a minute ago, didn't we?
Sorry, I'm just reading something here a minute that I'm getting in.
Yeah, and to be fair,
I'm getting like more news coming in.
Brian only wants rid of CD Lamb because he played for Oklahoma, didn't he?
Yeah, that's probably the only reason why. No.
Okay. So interesting.
Okay, you got a wee bit of breaking news.
We'll hit it when we get further on down the line.
So we do.
Honestly, this conversation that we've been having with the guys, as you said before, Paul, we talk a lot with the guys over in Dallas Cowboys media, so they're just like feeding us. This news is coming in. But let's hit then, while we're still there, wide receiver, the Gallup the Michael Gallup news that they are looking to sign him. There's a lot of talk going on. People are estimating that what he's asking in contract talks is he's looking for 10 million per. Is that a bit rich for you guys, especially for a guy with an ACL tear and the role that he plays?
It's you don't. It's a massive gamble.
Yeah. For me to be so critical about the number, I know it can be a bit rich, seeing as I've been singing his praises for the last couple of years. But that was before he tore his ACL. Now,
I've heard a number of things, issues going on. Is that it's down to cost. One of them is that he's had a personal issue with, and I can't say who, he's had a personal issue with somebody. Don't know if that's true.
What, are we talking about Gallup here?
Yeah. That there was, I don't know what. I don't even know if it's true. And for me, the feeling I get is that it's not. So I don't mean somebody with the Cowboys. I mean like agent wise.
I
should have said that. Damn it.
No, that kind of makes more sense actually.
I don't even know if that is true. I don't even know if it is. The feeling I get is that it's not from the conversation.
I do like. Let me be said. I do like Michael Gallup, but and quite a lot of us do tend to agree he's not necessarily a number one wide receiver. He's a good number two wide receiver. It's like, what was the Kenny Golladay situation when he went to New York? How much did he get paid per year?
A lot.
About 14, 15.
Yes. So
it was right. It's up there in the top like ranks.
Yeah. Right. So this is like, yeah, Gallup is asking a lot less than that if that's the case, which is fine. I have no problem with that. I'm just more concerned, is he going to be the same player after an ACL? That's like Graham just mentioned, if he never had the ACL, I would have been absolutely fine. I would have paid him, no problem whatsoever. But we just cannot guarantee if Gallup's going to be the same player coming back from a serious injury like that.
And especially the role he plays as the deep wide receiver.
Exactly. And it involves a lot of wear and tear on your knees when you're running.
The initial burst, especially at the right stem, you need to get that right. And especially with the way Michael Gallup plays, he's that physical type. So he's trying to break man coverage, which means a lot of physicality, which means a lot of power from your lower half.
Yeah,
I don't get how you can try and compete to sign let's face it, your third receiver to a $10 to $12 million contract when you've got, in my opinion, our best defensive end sitting over at the other end of the locker room with no deal.
And you've just agreed to pay potentially for 1 year. Yeah. What? Yeah. Tight end free, nearly $11 million for a season if you get him onto a deal.
Hit it on the nose, Jay. Why can they not take the Michael Gallup money, the Dalton Schultz money, and go and keep Randy Gregory? $22 million, I think you'd bite your hand off.
And not just that, Graham. There's plenty of good wide receivers in this draft. You can put it's very deep this year. And Mike, you've done your research on it this year, like extensively. There's so many wide receivers, and this is something we're going to talk about originally for the prospect show was wide receivers this week. And obviously, we keep talking about like Sky Moore. There's Alec Pierce from Cincinnati. There's all those types of guys that could easily come in and fill a void within our wide receiver core. But no, we're not decided to do that. In fact, we're actually going to go completely off the rails when it comes to how we're going to spend our money. You know, so. And
I'm not laughing at you. I'm not laughing at you.
No, I know your reaction there. You just got a little bit of. What is it? Tell us. What is it?
Just somebody having a go at me about calling Aaron Rodgers Karen Rodgers.
Oh, well, it's true.
I'm not that worried. I was just like, if you believe that to be serious, you shouldn't be listening to me.
That's true, though. Yeah, it's a Karen. So
yeah, this is true. All right, but also in other news that's broke today, so we're still sticking there. Dak and Zach Martin have their contract restructured, which frees up 22 million on the cap. Obviously, half of that has already been used. If what we're saying is true with Michael Gallup, there's the other half being used. Some people ask me some questions about restructure. They do not have to tell the players they're going to restructure. They don't even need to tell the agents. They tell the league they're going to restructure. They restructure it. It's done. Players don't lose any money. They get the same amount of money. It's just how it's all played on the books. Basically, they take base salary, turn it into signing bonus, so they can spread that over the length of the contract because of how contracts are written out in the terms of how they can spread that over the cap.
If
it
anything,
does put the back end bad, especially the void years. But go on, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, is that what you was going to say?
Yep. Well, one, I'll reiterate that restructuring is a dirty word. And
it is.
I hate it. Two,
especially certain positions.
The players want restructured because as soon as a player gets restructured, it's basically saying, "Yeah, see that money that we thought we were going to give you, we're definitely going to give you that money."
Yeah.
Cool. Not a problem. Send the check. So why wouldn't they want restructured?
Yeah, it solidifies you as a player in the back end of your contract. So basically that means that you're more cemented to being around on that team for longer because if you cut them, obviously it's more dead money because you've got more guaranteed money that you have to try and account for. So it becomes more and no team wants dead money. So they keep you around. It is handy, mind you, for certain players. So if you look, they've done it to Dak and Zach. There we go. Should have said it that way. So they are what they're projecting in their minds going ahead is that when these two players get towards the end of their contract, they're going to try and re-sign them. So then that swallows up the void years, if you like, so that they can spread that then again over the next term of the contract. That's the idea behind it. But what happens is kind of what happened with Tony Romo, that they've done the same thing to him and it rolled and it rolled and it rolled. So that in the end, when he went out injured and they decided he was going to retire, there's a lot of dead money that can tie into it. If there's a big surprise, if you like, something like that, injury or retirement wise,
For me, the big problem with restructuring comes when a player loses form towards the end of his contract.
Yeah.
So you've effectively got, say, a $16 million player who plays as a $4 million player, but because 14 million of that is guaranteed, there's basically nothing you can do about it. You just have to keep them around. It's unfortunate, but see with Dak and Zach Martin, I can live with that because the pair of them they're cornerstones of the offense and they'll be absolutely fine. I have no concerns over those two.
See, this is what frustrates me about NFL contracts. Is if you agree to pay someone, I don't know what. Just let's just use Aaron Rodgers' contract just because it's fresh in the mind. So essentially, it's $50 million a year in it, guaranteed.
Yeah.
If you don't want to pay him that towards the back end of the, don't agree to pay it in the first place. Agree to pay a contract that you're willing to pay over 5 years. Oh, if that's you know what I mean? And I know it's easy saying it, but it's just a lot of crap. Don't say, right, we'll give you 200 million over 4 years. But you know what? Actually, after 2 years, we don't really want to pay that anymore. So we're going to see if we can dump it off to somebody else who will be stupid enough to give us a draft pick to take you.
Yeah, I mean, like, there is a lot in depth that goes into contracts. Like we went through one before, me and Lorne, and like what is reported and what you see isn't exactly how it's written out because there's a lot of different bits and pieces. It's very, very finite in how it works. So what you see gets reported isn't what goes in their pocket or what they get per year. There's many subtle layers to it. We'll have to do it again another time because it really is. It's a crazy minefield, the contract side of it all.
Can we do it drunk? So
yeah, let's do it drunk. We have done it. We've done a drunk podcast before, and albeit
mind-boggling sober. So
yeah, we did do one before, and our sponsor was just like, "Don't do that again." But hey, I say let's do it. I'm sure you won't mind. All right, so let's get into some other news then that's been hitting it. Is some happy news. Wide receiver Noah Brown, who is a special teams ace for the Cowboys. He has played wide receiver, but he hasn't racked up that many yards. He is signed to a 1-year deal. He is a speed demon. And I've always said before that if we was ever struggling for tight end, here's a guy that could actually do it. He has the body type, like to play that skinnier, lighter type tight end, the receiving F-type tight end. There's your guy. I reckon Noah Brown could do it. But what do you guys make of the deal? Good, happy, sad, indifferent? Not sure until we see the numbers.
Smart move.
Yeah, you like it?
He's not the flashiest of receivers. That's no disrespect to him, but when he's being targeted and when he's had his number called, he's not letting anybody down. And these are the kind of guys that you want at the bottom of your depth of your wide receiver chat. Ones that are not going to get a lot of ball and a lot of field time, but when they do, you know if you call his number, he's gonna try and make something happen. And these are the ones. This is why I always like kind of the back end of the roster, because it's guys that are
the unknowns,
that are fighting to get on there and to make a name for themselves. And these are the guys that you love to watch, because it's just I know we've mentioned it a few times before, but going all the way back to the years of Miles Austin, he was that back end of the roster kind of guy, and took his chance and got and go for it.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is it's quite ironic, really. But Noah Brown, to me, is the Anthony Brown of the wide receiver core. I've always said that.
Maybe a little bit more trustworthy.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you look at what Anthony Brown's done this year or last season, that he was absolutely perfectly fine. That he did exactly what he needed to do. They said, this is what's on the tin. And he did. He was exactly what was written on the tin. Noah Brown, I think he's that type of guy too, that he's not going to wow you or anything like that, but he will surprise you if you give him a big enough role.
Is Bry on the is he on the dodgy bait? Because I've just seen another comment he's fighting. My God, he's ripping the Cowboys tonight, isn't
he? You know our Brian.
He's on the cocktail.
He's just a little bit sore. That's all. He's just feeling it.
Feeling his age.
Yeah.
Just to ask, so wouldn't be the other decision as well? Isn't Noah Brown one of pretty much being instrumental for Faso in special teams?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he's a special teams ace. He's right up there in as a gunner. He's always like the first guy up the field. He's incredibly fast.
Yeah. Oh, I know we're kind of jumping ship, but did you notice at the combine that Faso was taking a very, very close eye on Matt Azia?
Punter, yeah.
The punter.
75-yard punt.
That was insane.
I think when was the last time an actual punter was actually drafted? A punter was drafted.
A punter? Yeah, there's been punters drafted. Yeah.
Let's have a look.
I would say
the Raiders take a punter in the third round or something along those lines.
No, Janikowski, the kicker, was he not like?
That was a first rounder. He was in the top 10.
Our punter now, Anger, he was taken by the Jacksonville Jags in like the third round.
He was the last punt. Oh yeah, he was the last punter to be drafted. He was drafted in the third round in 2012.
Yeah, yes. Check that out.
What college did you play for them, Mike? Come on, seeing as you've got everything else right so far.
Now you're asking.
Oh.
Digging deep into my draft IQ.
college football. Come on.
I'm not Googling.
No, don't you dare Google. I
can't tell me. I can't think for the life of me.
Well, you guys are Googling. I don't know if it's been brought up, but I see in the comments that DJ Dog has asked about the Tyron Smith restructuring. Yeah, it's a little bit sore, DJ Dog, if I'm honest. Tyron Smith's scheduled to make $17 million this year. So effectively $1 million a game. And let's face it, 6 of those will be sat on his couch. So best of luck to him. Not that I'm sour about it at all. No, I just like
it's not sour, Graham. It's you're speaking facts.
See restructuring. It sounds superb for the current season, but it's going to come back to bite you sooner or later. Us as Cowboys fans, I can't remember the exact year, but there was one year we were in salary cap hell, and we did. Was that the 4-12 season where we had basically very little time?
We had other things that went wrong, but
because we decided to treat ourselves to a better team that year. Now that's fine if you're going to go and win a Super Bowl, but they didn't, and that's the problem.
Yeah, but I mean, like moving on from the Noah Brown information is Jaron Curse. Just so you know, I've asked the question. It has been confirmed that they have had contract talks with him. How far that goes, we don't know. Unfortunately, I can't get the answer to that question, and neither can the person who answered me get that question either. But they are in contract negotiations. That's some good news. He is a guy that it would be handy to keep. His market value, I think, was estimated around 5 or 6.5 million per, which is quite a bit for a safety. But the other news is Malik Hooker. He's still fairly cheap. He's still around about the $1 million mark, which I think they're going to do and bring back. They bring both of them back. For me, that puts safety off the table in the draft.
I don't know.
Yeah. So what else is new?
I did a mock draft today and took 2 safeties, and they gave me an A for both. And I was just like, there's something wrong with this simulator. If you're giving me an A for the Cowboys taking a safety in the draft.
Safety has been off the board, let's face it, for quite some time.
I think on the mocks I've been doing, I've been getting the kid from Illinois around about the 4th round. So I can see it maybe in the latter rounds. I can't see it high up. I think we've got too many needs on the
I mean, never say. I one of the things I always try and preach you guys is when it comes to the draft, never say never. If it falls to you, it comes to you, and it's there, they'll take it.
Yes, Brian Kirby Joseph. But yeah, actually, when you say never, apart from wide receiver, apart from quarterbacks, we're not going to take a quarterback in the top 3 rounds, are we?
I don't know about that either, mind you. You think they've done it before, where they've taken a quarterback with their last pick, they trade away some picks and they get some later picks in day 3, and they decide to take somebody like, say, Skylar Thompson. No problem in that. If they decide to do that and get somebody to develop, because what are you doing with Cooper Rush? I mean, albeit Cooper Rush is he's the Kirk Cousins killer.
Oh, there's something coming to get you. You can see the shadows. He's prowling about.
It's the birthday boy.
That's the boy. But also in some other news coming out of conversations that we had, Van Der Esch, it is looking unlikely he's going to sign. Doesn't mean that he won't, because he could test the free agent market. Not like what he sees, might not like what the deals he gets, and come back to Dallas. Could be on a lesser deal than what he hits on the free agent market, but it is looking unlikely. In some other news that ties in with the linebacker is the Cowboys have talked to Anthony Hitchens as well. Again, we don't know if he's going to be coming back, but the conversation has been had. whether the costs are there, and he is extremely willing to play ball here back at Dallas. And he brings a Super Bowl ring with him, which is what happens usually when we give players away. But also, in some other news that I've been trying to get out is Jabril Cox. The Jabril Cox news is he's looking at above schedule.
Yes, that is great news.
Thank goodness for that.
Yes, I'm looking forward to seeing what this can
and
do.
just on Anthony Hitchens.
Hit me. Yeah, there's a lot to take away there. So I'll give you guys the bench and you just take it away. So hit us with it, Mr. G.
Yeah. Regular listeners to the show will know my stance on free agents. If he's not good enough for the Chiefs, he's not good enough for us.
I know what you're saying. Is somebody else's trash.
I mean, if you want to go and win the Super Bowl, you've got to be better than teams that have won Super Bowls, and that's not the way to do it. Because if the Chiefs feel they can get better linebacker play from somebody else, why shouldn't we feel that? Do you get what I mean? And there's no better judge of character than the Chiefs.
And in all fairness, I agree with what you're saying, but doesn't Hitchens still provide something better than that we already have? It kind of goes back to that. And then do we have?
I get it's
in a world where we have no linebackers.
I do get that, but
yeah.
Why shouldn't we go looking for Jabril Cox 2.0? Is what I'm saying.
He's in the draft, actually.
An up and comer rather than a decliner. If you get what I mean.
It could be one. If the price is right, Graham. If the price is right, we might get him on a cheap. We might.
That's what you touched on what I would say, Paul. But what price would you be happy to bring him back at? Less than 5?
Yeah.
Or he's free too much.
Paul,
I would rather bring in a rookie. I'd rather bring in a rookie linebacker and see what we have in him.
Yeah.
There are plenty out there. The linebacker.
I like the depth. I like the depth this year.
I mean, me and Brian run through, and you did, Paul. You were with us last week on a prospect project. We looked at 6 linebackers, only 6, and there's great value there. We looked at guys day 1, day 2, possibly some that will touch into day 3. And you're talking about a Jabril Cox type guy. And one of my favorite players in this year's draft is that type, Jojo Doman.
But is he not registered as a corner though?
He's more corner safety. But you could play him, like that hybrid role.
Like Kazee was.
Yeah, or Curse, yeah, as that tight end killer. But this guy's more than that, even better than that if you really wanted to go down that line, that'll make it fit. Linebacker is just like you say, Jay, so in depth. There's a lot to play with there. Any other news though, guys, you want to hit then?
LVE, just before you say.
Yes.
Said it all season long. Doesn't deserve to come back. And if he comes back, I'd be pissed because it'd be a bit of money. And then just touching on one more linebacker in the draft, Chad Milner from Wyoming. Would love to see him fall somewhere to the Cowboys.
I wouldn't be pissed if he comes back.
I wouldn't be annoyed, Jamie. Like, at least we would still bring back someone that knows the playbook, who knows
the system.
And he actually, and if I'm being perfectly honest, I actually thought even though he kept himself quiet, but he didn't really put really much of a foot wrong this season. If I'm not like
later in the season, I'll agree with you. At the start, he started off slow. As the season got on, he was getting better, and to the point where he was one of the better players on the defense. Even in the San Francisco 49ers game, he was one of the few players you could say played well.
And then just touching on that, Chad Milner from Wyoming. He's a guy I'm going to look out for in the draft.
You're listening to me, Jay. You're listening to me. I like that. I like that.
Just before we go into any other news, I just want to touch on the Cooper situation again. Something that, I don't know if you guys have brought up when
I'm wearing this out, by the way.
When I dropped out for a minute, but can any of you think of a good reason why the Cowboys would suggest that they're going to release Amari Cooper?
None.
Quite a few things roaming about.
Why on earth would you tell somebody what you're going to do? And then
I know.
That annoyed me the most.
That
annoyed me. So why would you disclose that information to the public like that?
That's Cowboys of old, is that?
Don't tip your hat. But like, here we are, and the problem we are with the Randy Gregory situation, the Dak Prescott contract, the Amari Cooper contract, even Tank's contract, all of this is as a result of them dragging their heels. Where we're all going, like with Randy Gregory, sign him now. Sign him now. You get him cheaper before his cap gets too high. They drag their heels. They don't bother. Then here we are later down the line. Like with Dak, everybody's saying, sign him now because he's going to be too expensive next year. He gets more expensive. They franchise tag him. The next year comes along, he's doubled up in price. It's as a result of the Joneses just taking too long to pull the trigger on contracts that they want. I get what they're trying to do. I get it. I understand. But it comes as a cost of doing business that way. And the business is the players get more expensive.
The most frustrating thing about it all is you've literally not long ago paid your quarterback $40 million a year and essentially saying to the league, this guy is going to win us or he's going to take us to a Super Bowl. You do not then go out and get openly say to the league, we are letting his wide receiver 1 go. We're going to bring back his wide receiver 3 who's on, although he's good, he's coming off a pretty nasty injury. You just don't do that. You don't pay you're then looking at the Aaron Rodgers situation. You're paying this really good quarterback a ton of money, and he's not. And apart from Devontae Adams, he's not really got anybody to throw to.
I'll tell you why I raised Jay. Brilliant segue, because I'll tell you why I've raised the point. See if you go around the league and you say, right, who wants Amari Cooper? And there's absolute silence. Right? Do you release him? I'm telling you, former order of the queue, Dolphins, Jets, Colts,
Falcons,
Jaguars, Commanders, they all have the cap space to go and pay Amari Cooper.
But it wouldn't surprise me, right, G? It wouldn't surprise me if Jerry's already on the phone to the guys over at Atlanta going, what do you think? You know, you're in a bit of trouble over there with your wide receiver.
Yeah. That one to me is the only one I can really think of.
But again, the comeback will always be, yeah, but Jerry, you're going to release him in a week's time anyway. So we'll just wait and keep our draft pick.
But then they could lose that chance. Do you know what I mean? You pay for the, what's the word I'm looking for? Security of getting that guy. If he hits the free agent market and they release him, he could go anywhere.
And I'm pretty sure Matt Ryan would love the idea of having a very similar target to what he had with Julio Jones back in his prime. So
not as physical as Julio Jones, but in terms of right running.
Yeah.
My big worry is the Commanders. And I'm trying to get used to the name. Paul, I'm really trying to get used to the name. Right. But don't forget, Washington offered this guy $5 million more than we did, not 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
And I don't see their wide receiver core improved any. Fair enough, they've got Scary Terry, but do they have a number opposite him?
But
probably not.
Here's one for you. Go on, Jay. Go on.
Sorry, I was just.
No, go on.
Were you saying that? You say if you give them a wide receiver 1, and apparently they're out on a limb to get a top tier QB. You give them a wide receiver 1 and a QB. They
with that defense,
they could win the East next year if they get a QB and a decent wide out to complement Scary Terry.
The big issue is going to be quarterback. Can they get a decent quarterback? And right now, in this year's draft, don't know. You never know.
But here's one for you though, right? Sticking with Amari Cooper, right? Now, obviously, Aaron Rodgers is staying with me, but Russell Wilson's gone. And we put the post up saying about the top 5 quarterbacks. Dak, at the moment, is coming in consensus-wise as like the 3rd quarterback in the NFC. So that's how I would put it. You know, Kyler Murray right behind him, clapping at the heels there. That fifth quarterback is very much up for debate. Who you want to go with? It's a tricky one. But let me put it to you this way: the Cowboys now just heard Russell Wilson's gone, so now literally the NFC, the playoffs in playoff terms, because Brady's gone, Gronk is doing his Gronk thing. We'll probably find him on a beach or a boat somewhere with open cans of Miller, right? But now when you think about it, okay, you've got the Rams, but what are the Rams going to be this year? You can't. I'm not sure you can turn around and say they're going to be trying to defend the Super Bowl. I'm not sure. I don't see it. They're not going to be the same team.
Nah.
So the NFC playoffs go through Green Bay. Who are the contenders? Like we say, got the Rams for sure. Saints are all over the shop. So the South is gone, right? The West is still the West. So you've got Arizona as well. Like we say, you've got Rams there. 49ers are the 49ers, and the Seahawks, we know all about that. So it's not going through them. Nobody in NFC East. So then you got the North, which we say Green Bay. I think that's about it, really. So when the Cowboys are looking at this, they go, we could have another shot at this year. We could be team number 2 in the NFC. So why don't we try and keep Cooper to see how this plays out? So the move that they've made to Denver, the Seahawks made to Denver, actually helps Cooper. Do you think that?
Could do, but can I just touch on something a little bit you said there? Just
yes,
and probably more for an analogy purposes, but
yeah, go on.
If the Cowboys look at it and go, you know what, we could be team number 2 in the NFC, then just give up the game. Just don't even play it. If the Cowboys are looking at it and saying we are number 1 team in the NFC, then you just don't play the game.
See, I actually really agree with that comment that DJ Dog's just trying to sit here.
It's for value.
Yeah, I think there's going to be something in the works where a team, well, all of a sudden might need a right receiver, and there's no one there worth in the draft by then. Like, who knows? Again, I just don't know what on earth we're going to do this year. I really don't.
I honestly think
but one thing I will say is I'm on Graham's side. I just hope to God we do draft O-line. That's the only thing I will say is somewhere down the line, if it's first round, second round, fourth round, there's a guy in the later rounds I really liked, and that's that Cole Strange from Chattanooga. I like him, but other than that, I have no idea. I have no idea what we're going to do.
I mean, when we look at that on the draft show on Thursday, more of the guys. But anybody got anything more to add, or should we start killing this up?
Yeah, I think we're good, man. I think we kind of covered quite a lot in the space.
And there was a lot that went on today. But we will do obviously more lowdown shows because it is silly season, so the news comes in thick and fast.
If I could jump in, Mike, just want to get your thoughts on the recent, shall we say, criticisms of Tyler Linderbaum. Has he fallen out of the first round?
The consensus at the moment, I think, has him 26th, 27th. Just like
I think he's the first rounder.
If he goes past us, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah, he's
the
cheap grade now. He's the cheap grade.
And Mate, you made the comment, like, I still, like, well, it's not going to be a first round or second round or whatever, but it was the tight end, Jake Ferguson. You mentioned it, like, he didn't have necessarily the best combine, but
he upset me in the combine because I wanted more.
Yeah, I'm still a big fan of him. I still think someone will still draft him. Yeah, I still think he's still worth drafting, to be perfectly honest.
Maybe in his pro day it'll look different, but that combine, he stunk it up, man. And what was it, like 14 on the bench press, which for a tight end is dire. Like, there's skinny 190-pound wide receivers who are pushing out more than that.
Yeah,
and when you think of the Big Ten as well, where you're watching it and you think how the Big Ten play with all them up front guys, and he's shoving people around. Now you got to stop and you got to step back and you got to go. Well, was it then he looks good because the talent he was playing against wasn't that good? So I need to go back and check that because like it was just so because like some of it like the cone drills with Ferguson weren't bad, but it was more. It was just like it was lacking. It was lacking. For one, in terms of guys who dropped the furthest down on my board, he did the most from the combine, which was upsetting because I don't want him to.
He's still my number 3 tight end.
I like it.
I'll tell you who impressed me, and to be fair, Evan Neal. We were talking about this the other day, Michael. Oh my gosh, how is that guy an offensive? He looks buff in terms of like you just wouldn't think he was an offensive lineman, and then when you saw him doing box jumpings, oh my god, that kid is athletic. Someone who's getting a beast of a tackle for the next 15-20 years.
We could get the defensive tackle. I think he's gone before he gets to us. I think he's gone before he gets to us. I think he's going. He'll get just out of the top 10, and then he's gone, which is crazy to say.
Well, on my final note, I do loved how Zion Johnson impressed in the combine. Yeah. I think he was like top 5. I think he was top 5 in bench press and top 5 in the 40-yard dash and top 5 in the cone drill. So he was all up there in the 5th percentile of all the O-line.
I like it.
And one person that disappointed me, and I mean this in terms of because of he performed. Apparently, he blew everyone out of the water in his interviews. His combine was fantastic, and we've all talked about him endlessly on this show. As of others, a little bit disappointed in Sky Moore just for the fact that he's probably priced himself out of coming to the Cowboys. You would have probably got him in the 3rd round. There's no way he falls out the 2nd now, and that's going to be too steep for us. I think we've got too many needs to consider wide receiver in the 2nd round. But fair play to him. But yeah, I would have loved to have seen that kid in the Cowboys.
There's even rumors he might actually sneak into the 1st now. There's even rumors about that.
Very much good. I've seen one where I've seen some mocks from some guys, some analysts, and they have him going in the 1st.
I just can't wait to see Paul's face when they take a wide receiver at 24.
I'll be honest with him, I would not be mad this year because at the time when we did draft CeeDee Lamb, we were more in desperate need of defensive line at the time. But this year, it's fair game. Like hell, you may even bloody draft a punter in the 1st round. I would not even be mad about it.
Oh, he's worked up. Oh, he's fired up.
So somebody who could be there, and I had a conversation with Mike this week about him when I love this guy to fall. For some reason keep getting him on the box, and he didn't perform as well. Devin Lloyd. He's probably hurt.
He was never going to test well. He plays fast, but he doesn't. He was never going to test well. I wouldn't read too much into that.
I think it might help him.
Jesus Christ! Sorry,
pizza.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Hey, careful! We don't have sponsorship for that.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry, we don't. Yeah. Anybody else is fine. Local takeaways are fine for pizzas. Yeah, we'll back it.
In terms of Devin Lloyd, I was never expecting him to run far. I wasn't expecting it, but he plays faster than how he looks. But I mean, these are guys we can talk about on Thursday. Should we wrap this up then, guys? All right then. So we'll hit some of the usual things that we do here. Content creators, make sure you go and follow these guys. All those names up there are good friends of ours. We recommend them, and they'll recommend us as well if you go and talk to them. So obviously, make sure you go and do that. And a sponsor of the show, Cowboys Experience. If you're going to a game this season, make sure you book it through Cowboys Experience. They have meet and greets, tailgate parties, full packages, stadium tours, everything you could ever wish for. And make sure, if you book it with them, you use the code UK Cowboys. Because what happens, guys, is I've been doing that all night, by the way.
You get free stuff.
You get the free stuff.
You get the
free. So that's what it's all about. And also, we'd like to say a big thank you to everybody who joined us tonight. You are always our MVPs, as we always say. Without
you, everyone. It's just
us 4 idiots, or actually, it's more than 7 of us. So it's just us 7 idiots talking amongst ourselves.
Yeah, I'm about to join some more idiots across the pond and talk more football about what's happened. So I'll be doing that in the next hour.
Yeehaw! That's what it's all about. But we'll be back Thursday. Jamie, who do we have on Thursday's show, by the way?
Yeah, we've got Mike, has always got some guests on. We've got Brianna Dix from D210S joining us this week. So be sure to tune in and chat some Cowboys. We're going to get questions from him, which is definitely confirmed. I spoke to her earlier on.
Yeah, that's cool. All sorted. And then we got another guest as well the week after, which should be even more fun. I'll tell you about that after we go off here. But we'll see you Thursday, guys. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you on the other side, guys. Stay safe.
See you later, guys. Have a good one.
Coop.
Restructure.
You can try to break me. I cut my teeth on people like you. It's gonna take a lot more to take me down. I'm a step ahead, watch me wear my crown. Don't need a knight to guard the cave. Can count the dragons that I've slayed. You can give it all you got, 'cause love is running through my veins. Oh, this lion can't be tamed. There's fire